Good evening. I call this meeting to order, our City Council Legislative Work Session, and we'll start tonight with our Operations Manager, Chelsea Jackson, with the invocation. If everyone will please stand.
Good afternoon, City Council. We all could bow our heads. Father God, thank you for this glory day that you have made, and I pray that you bless everyone who's under the sound of my voice right now. And I want to send a special prayer up to all those individuals affected by the current natural disasters that are going on in our country, as well as other countries around us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Richard Siegel.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chelsea, thank you. Councilman Richard. Okay, tonight under other business, just have one item. Tonight we will elect a council member to preside as chairman for the September 28th, 2017 council meeting in the absence of both Mayor Robinson and Mayor Pro Tem Larry Yockey. Do we have any nominations? It's not all speak at once.
I make a nomination that I would like to nominate Councilman Mike Miller for that position for this evening, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a nomination on the floor by Councilman Mark Adams that our council member Mike Miller preside over this meeting, and a second by council member Chris Watts. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, Councilman Mike Miller. Thank you, council members.
Excuse me. Right, the meeting has been called to order. Thank you for having me run the meeting tonight. We will go directly into tonight's agenda with the first issue being, our first committee being Public Safety Committee, and that is the chairman is Samuel Davis. I believe there's a, let me get my list. The vice chairman is Larry Yockey. We also have Mr. Siegel. Would you want to run the Public Safety Committee this evening?
Yes, Mr. Miller. There is one item to adopt an ordinance to enact an amended Article 3 of Chapter 90, Vehicles for Hire of the Code of the City of Douglasville, to provide for an approved heavy record list for towing of tractor trailers. I believe this is on our committee meeting agenda for Monday. Anything else to add to that? No? Okay, we'll discuss it then. No other business under Public Safety Committee, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. The next item we have is Community and Economic Development Committee, and that's Chairman Mark Adams.
No business tonight, Mr. Miller. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. The next issue is, or the next item is Planning and Development Committee, and that's also Mr. Adams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. We have no business in that committee either.
Thanks again, Mr. Adams. Then our next item is Parks and Recreation Committee Chairman Chris Watts.
Thank you, Councilman Miller. We have no business tonight under Parks and Recreation.
All right. We have, the next item is Finance Committee. The chairman is Larry Yockey. Vice chairman is Mr. Siegel.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We have no business tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is Information Technology Committee Chairman Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We do have one item tonight. Authorize the mayor to sign 3 amendments with Dovetail Communications LLC, doing business as Sync Global, to extend for 3 years the term of the parties' agreement number SGDGV 0513 for internet and telephone services for City Hall Davis Park, and Hunter Park, to extend for 3 years the term of the parties' agreement number SGDGV 0710 for internet and telephone services for the Public Safety and Municipal Court Building, and to amend agreement number SGDG 0710 to provide internet connectivity between the Public Safety and Municipal Court Building and the Douglas County 911 Center. Mr. Todd.
Thank you all. Nathan Todd, City of Douglasville, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. Basically, what you're looking here as the attachments are the various forms of the various attachments for the agreement. Basically, what this does is it replaces our equipment both at City Hall and at the municipal complex. That is our connection to Sync Global for internet, which is, of course, everything that comes out of these two buildings. We do get an increase in internet speed to both of those buildings, as well as a decrease in cost for service at these places. We also lower our cost for Hunter Park, Davis Park, and then you'll notice there's one item on here called the SIP trunk cost. That's actually the phone lines out. So Sync Global receives all our telephone calls and forwards them onto our system. They are lowering the cost of that monthly. The biggest difference is actually the addition of service from the municipal complex to the Douglas County 911 Center. This is our direct connection for computer-aided dispatch and all the reporting software that we use and 911 uses and the fire department uses.
Comments? Questions?
I have a question. Will this include an upgrade in our actual phones? On any
Like
of
the actual phone equipment?
Yes.
No, ma'am, it doesn't. So while Sync Global provides the connection to our phone system is actually ours. It's hardware and software owned and operated by the City of Douglasville with Cisco IP phones. Those phones have not reached end of life yet, so we're going to keep soldiering on with
Okay,
them.
all right, great. No other questions, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, if there's no objections, I'd like to put this on the consent agenda for Monday night. All right, no other business under information technology, Mr. Miller. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is Maintenance and Sanitation Committee. I'm the chairman of that, so I'm going to recognize myself, I reckon. And we have one item tonight, and that is to declare as surplus one city-owned Muto VJ1304G large format color printer and authorize city staff to sell this personal property to TNT Wide Format LLC for $500. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, sir. Greg Roberts, Maintenance and Sanitation Department for the City of Douglasville, 8578 Club Drive. Email address is sanitation@douglasvillega.gov. This equipment is something that we actually purchased this 5 years ago in 2012, and we actually paid about $12,000 for it. And at the time, as a couple of folks will remember, we were sort of going full-blown into the sign-making operation and that type thing, and it worked well for us for at least 4 years of that 5. And what I didn't probably realize at the time, this is a very computer-based program with this printer, and it has to be continually upgraded. And this system crashed on us probably December of last year, and the quote or estimate to get it repaired was about $3,000 to $5,000. And so at that time, when staff approached me about that, I said, no, I don't think we want to spend that much money on it. And I'm just being frank with you, because the repair would not necessarily, not only, it would get it back in operation, but there was no guarantee that it would last a year or two. And so we discussed at the time whether we would come to the council and purchase another one, which would have been closer to $15,000 by now. And we basically decided, after that 4 years of experience having the computer, sometimes you learn by experience, hopefully we do, and I didn't feel like that it was beneficial to spend that much money to get something that we might not get 4 or 5 years out of. There's no guarantee of it, when we can buy these materials commercially from companies that make the signs and the banners. And so, it's sort of a toss-up as to whether you save money having this type of equipment. And so we were going to put it in the auction for next year, but one of my staff members made a good point. When we do the auction, and I'm just being open and honest, a lot of these type things, and I believe IT would concur, a lot of things related to computers, it ends up palletized and cellophaned, and somebody comes in there and buys it for $25. And so we had a chance to get a little more out of this from somebody who wants it for the parts. And so that's really what this item is being presented to you about.
So what's presented here is pretty much the highest and best value for the...
From what I understand, now I will tell you from a technological point of view, it's a little out of my league. I won't deny that. But it's a piece of equipment that has been sitting for months. I'm not confident enough to spend money on getting something operating that we won't get a year or two out of, and we'll be back spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on again. You know, I'm not proud to have to bring this item up, but I also don't want to let it go in an auction for $25 or $50 when we can get more value for the equipment. Otherwise, it's just it's like any computer that's 5 years old.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Mr. Roberts, what are we doing now with the work that this particular product 5 years ago would have turned out for us that we're not able to use it since it's broken? Do we not have a need, or was that part of the learning curve to where we don't really have to have this?
Well, we're not making nearly as much in-house as we were. And so when we have these items, and Chan Weeks could have spoke to that a lot better than myself, and I don't have a lot of information here, but I know it was used to make banners and a lot of the specialty signs that we would attach to like corkboard and that kind of thing, or we could add it to metal. It would make large signs, and but there are other sources around that can do this for us for a fee, but my feeling is that it's probably cheaper at this point after having used this and had the experience for 4 years. It's probably better that we purchase commercially from companies that are in that business rather than trying to do it in-house.
I understand. Thank you.
Because we have to do the artwork, and it ties one person up 4 or 5 hours, depending on what they're making. They'll type an entire morning working a sign up, and
Doesn't sound like we have the economy of scale to get any type of efficiency out of this work.
no, I don't. No, sir.
Mr. Siegel? Anyone else? Okay. Appreciate the information on that. What I would like to do is have this placed on the consent agenda if there's no objection from the council. All right.
Thank you for your
That
time.
is all we have under maintenance and sanitation for tonight. The next item is the Transportation Committee with Chairwoman LaShawn Burr-Danley. Ms. Danley?
Yes, thank you, Councilman Miller. I have 2 items tonight. The first item is to authorize city staff to give notice to Miller Architectural and Planning Incorporated that the city will proceed with the optional interior design services offered in the parties contract of April 30th, 2014 for the city's Welcome Center, furnishing designs to have Miller purchase the proposed furnishing for that facility and authorize the mayor to sign any necessary documents to officiate these transactions. Ms. Wright?
Good evening, Council. Michelle Wright, Planning Director, City of Douglasville, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. We did a contract with Miller Architecture and Planning when we did the contract for the Welcome Center furnishings and design in 2014, April 30th, 2014, and part of that contract stated in there that under interior design selection, that Miller Architecture and Planning will provide interior design selections, including the selections of the colors, finishes, fixtures, and also that they will be purchasing these. So in your meeting, a few meetings ago, you did add back in the Welcome Center to the T grant. And part of that was including this, and there was $50,000 allotted for design and furniture in that. And this would be part of that contract, but I wanted to make sure that this was brought forth, and you did realize this, since the contract's been since 2014, and we just added that back in.
Ms. Wright, will the staff have any input? Are they actually conversating and having input in as well as the color? Because they're the ones that's going to be in there.
Yeah. Yes. Before, there was a plan laid out before the Welcome Center was taken out, and now it's put back in, and staff is having input. Miller Architecture has met with Patrice and April and myself to take a look at this,
Okay.
to see what we would be doing about it.
So you said the cap was 50,000,
50,000 was put back into the Welcome Center T grant
and was
for
the
furniture.
the furniture that was in there prior to, was there a pretty good bit of furniture that was able to be salvaged?
Some of it was able to be salvaged. Some of it is in storage. So.
I don't have any other comments or questions. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Wright, is this $50,000 that we've added back into the contract, that's not just for furnishings, or it is?
It is just for the furnishings and the interior design.
Interior design, okay. Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? If not, Councilman Miller, I'd like to place the first item, item A, on the consent agenda, if there are no objections.
Everyone in favor? All right, shall be placed on the consent agenda.
Thank you. And just one more item. Authorize the mayor to sign supplemental agreement number 1 with the Georgia Department of Transportation to amend the city's agreement of August 21st, 2015 for the Welcome Center TE Grant PI number 0010728 to extend the time for completion of the contract to December 31st, 2018. Ms. Wright?
Yes, Michelle Wright, Planning Director, City of Douglasville, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. Since we have added the Welcome Center back in, it looks like it will not be completed till the end of January, maybe mid-February, end of February. The GDOT contract comes up at December 31st, 2017. So it needs to be extended. When I had talked to them about the contract, they don't extend contracts for 6 months. They typically do it for a year. It doesn't mean the project will take a year. As soon as the project is done, it'll be done, the final project. But we're looking at the Welcome Center end of January, mid-February, end of February to be completed. But the GDOT contract that we have with them runs out December 31st, 2017. So that is the reason for this extension.
You said December the 31st, 2017?
That's when our contract runs out for the T grant for construction with GDOT. However, we added the Welcome Center back in at a late date, probably 6 months or so later. And so that's taking us out a couple more months. And GDOT does understand that.
Right. And our staff will, I'm assuming, will still be occupying space at the Chamber of Commerce during that time?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other comments or questions. Anyone else have comments?
Madam
questions?
Chair, I just had one. I don't know if I heard this right. So GDOT will extend the contract and allow us to finish up to 6 months, you say?
No, this will be extended to December 31st, 2018.
Okay.
I told them we only needed 6 months, but they said they typically just do it for a year. Once the project ends, it ends.
Okay.
And so does the contract at that time.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Miller, I'd like to also add this to the consent agenda.
Any objections? Should be added to the consent agenda.
Okay. No other items. Thank you, Ms. Wright. Thank you, Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Chairwoman Danley. The next item is number 14, Personnel and Organization Committee, and that is chaired by Councilman Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We do have one item. Adopt an ordinance to amend Section 2-131 of the Administration Ordinance to omit references to the Deputy City Clerk and to amend sections 2-1, 8-8, and 11-1 of the Personnel Policies and Procedures Ordinance to omit or revise references to the Deputy City Clerk.
Tia Austin, Human Resources Director, City of Douglasville, 6695 Church Street. Just to bring to your attention a refresher where we are with this particular item on the agenda. As you know, we have had a vacancy in the clerk's department. Ms. Sharon Keith vacated her position a couple weeks ago, and so what we're doing right now is assessing the needs of the clerk's department and how we want to replace that particular position and title. I have spent time with Ms. Vicki Acker, the city clerk, and we feel that right now the need would be for a future assistant city clerk position in the department for a true succession plan and for the position title to fit the needs of what Ms. Acker is looking for. So this particular item would be to omit references of deputy city clerk, which we do not currently have, and to in the future replace that with the correct title. So we would like for now to remove all those references of deputy city clerk and to update the personnel policies and procedures with those omissions as well.
Any questions, comments from council?
I think we've been on, this has been the second time this is on the,
Well, we've been talking about changes to the charter that referred to
Okay.
The deputy city clerk as a adjunct role. But we also need to make the appropriate changes in the administration ordinance and the personnel policies and procedures ordinance.
Yes, sir.
And if there's no objections, I'd like to have this placed on the consent agenda for Monday night.
objection. No objection, it shall be placed on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. No other items.
Thank you, Chairman Siegel. The next item on the agenda is number 15, that is ordinances and intergovernmental committee. That is my committee. We have one item tonight, and that is to adopt an ordinance to amend the city charter, section 2.09, to eliminate the reference to deputy city clerk in the definition of adjunct appointee. This is the final adoption. Susan, do you have anything to add on that?
Not really. So that's the final adoption on it. We've done that before, and it's a companion piece to the ordinance that came before.
Is there any questions or concerns from, or questions or comments from council? All right. With that being noted and us being over and over this again, I would ask that it be placed on the consent agenda for Monday if there's no objection from council. Okay, it shall be added to the consent agenda. Next item is education and training. I believe Ms. Danley, Councilwoman Danley, is the vice chairman of that committee.
No items tonight, Councilman Miller. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Item number 17, other business. Do we have any other business? Hearing no other business. Well, Mr. Dodson's not here tonight. Ms. Littlefield, do you have any report?
No business from the legal department.
Okay. Chief of Police or Deputy Chief of Police?
No business, Councilman.
Thank you. The city manager's not here, but I understand, is there any?
She did not leave me
fill-in
I was to fill in for her, and she did not leave me anything to report.
Okay, very good. Comments from citizens and delegates, or any citizens and delegates that wish to make any comments, please fill out your form and come forward. Seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports, and I believe Ms. Jackson has a staff report.
Good afternoon again, Mayor and Council. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. I just wanted to come before y'all and announce that our annual report for 2017 is done. It is our first annual report of its kind. A lot of cities in the metro Atlanta area, as well as throughout the U.S., have annual reports, and what it does, it gives a brief review of everything that has went on in our city within the past fiscal year. So take a look through it. When you look through it, just remember this is from the previous fiscal year. So fiscal year 2017, it highlights items as like in our HR department, we received award for that, as well as highlights Breakfast with Santa, our Christmas family, as well as it goes to our communications department, tells how many views we've received on City TV, the YouTube channel, how many views we've had on our website, and so on. So this will be passed out to all our citizens. It'll be placed in all our city facilities, as well as I will give you all several copies as well if you want to pass out to your constituents as well, just so they know what we've done throughout the year as a city. And I just want to thank city staff for helping me. I did not do this by myself. Everyone with the city has helped me throughout this process just to compile the numbers and to get all the data together and all the information just so we can present it to our residents so they know exactly how we're working for the city.
That's awesome. That's the first time I've heard of any type of self-assessment and really lets the council and the city know where we're going and what we've done and what we need to do. So thank you very, very much. You and the staff, you know who they are, everybody here. So appreciate your hard work on that, and I think it's a great task. So any other comments or questions?
I just like to say, ditto what you just said. Looking through it, I haven't read through it, but looking through it, it looks very well done, and appreciate you and staff putting this together and doing such a good job with it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just a comment, just to echo, actually last week, the mayor passed these out to, during her town hall meeting, so some constituents received it, and they had very, very good comments. And I just want to say to Ms. Jackson, taking the lead on this and completing it, it was a lot of work that obviously has gone into this, and it's a job well done. Excellent. Thank you, and the staff.
Thank you. We tried to highlight as much as we could, but of course, 16 pages we feel like is enough. We did some research. It was like, past 16 pages, we don't think everyone will read all that, but we did try to highlight as much as we could. And what we did not highlight, we'll make sure we'll throw it in for years to come.
Awesome.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Does that conclude staff reports? Any further? Ms. Alston?
T. Austin, HR Director for City of Douglasville, 6695 Church Street. I just want to remind the council that Monday, October the 2nd, will be our annual celebration of hope. We will be working for a cause. Susan G. Coleman will be on site with us at our parking deck. It is our pink party at the parking deck. We'll be washing cars for a nominal donation. So if you're in the area, please bring your car. We will wash the exterior. We have some volunteers of city staff that will also be helping us, and Coleman, Susan G. Coleman will be here accepting those donations for breast cancer awareness. Also, the following Monday, October the 9th, we will have our annual Employee Appreciation Day at Hunter Park. That's from 10 to 3. That theme is Paradise in the Park. So if you get a chance to come out and just to celebrate our employees for all their hard work that they do for the city, we will be having a good time. So we invite you to come out if you can. Just want to make those two quick reminders: October the 2nd and October the 9th.
Anything else?
Nope, that's
Thanks,
it.
Ms. Alston. Staff reports from anyone else? All right. Well, we are adjourned. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. All right, we are adjourned.